Namaste. My name is Kirti, and on behalf of Himalayan Yoga Association, I welcome you all to this online teacher training course. I am a teacher here at Himalayan Yoga Association, and I will be taking you through the concepts and details of the human body and yoga altogether. Let's hope you enjoy this course. Let's start.
Namaste. Before we start with the online session, let's sit back and chant the Gayatri Mantra together. I request you all to come into the easy pose or the lotus pose with me. Activate Chin Mudra by joining the index finger with the thumb and spreading the rest of the three fingers away from each other, the palm facing the ceiling as it is. Both hands resting comfortably on your knees, spine straight, eyes closed, your drishti fixed on your third eye or at the tip of your nose if you need to. Spine completely straight. Now, as you are comfortable, steady, and stable, simply enjoy the passage of prana entering and leaving your body as naturally as it happens. Allow yourself these few comfortable moments. This is the most personal time you'll get to spend with yourself. And while you're doing it, observe the effect of natural deep breathing on your mind and your body. Summon yourself, gather yourself using your breath as an instrument. Completely gather your awareness and attention. Now slowly bring your hands in front of your chest without opening your eyes. Touch the heart center with the back of your thumbs. Chest spread wide open as it is. If you know the Gayatri Mantra, you can chant it with me or you can repeat it after me as well. With a lot of enthusiasm and gratitude towards this universe, let us chant this mantra. Take a deep inhalation. Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat. Having absorbed the vibration of the mantra, gently rub your palms, create some energy between your hands. Now gently place these hands on the top of your eyes, covering them completely, transferring this energy to your eyes first, then massage your face, to the back of your neck, anywhere else you wish to transfer this energy to. Without opening your eyes, once again fold your palms, bow down to your fingertips as you are. And with a few blinks, open your eyes.
Namaste and welcome back. Let's try and understand the different types of synovial joints present in the human body. The first question that comes to my mind, or which may come to your mind, is why do we even need to understand the synovial joints? Well, because the poses that we do, they all happen with the help of the synovial joints in the body. Remember, there are three types of joints in the human body: fixed joints, cartilaginous joints, and synovial joints. The three differences between these joints is that the fixed joints, they do not move at all. The cartilaginous joints, they only move depending on the limitation imposed by the cartilage present around the human body. And the synovial joints are the joints which come to your mind every time you try to interact with the outside world. any gesture, any movement, any instruction that you have to give to interact with the outside world is only possible because of the synovial joints. Now, the synovial joints, they make life interesting for us. It is very important for us to understand the synovial joints because understanding the limitations of these different joints in the human body, can you exceed those limits? There are 6 different types of joints in the human body, as you can see right here. Hinge joint, pivot joint, saddle joint, ball and socket joint, ellipsoid joint, and the last one, plane joint or gliding joint. The synovial joints, they are also called as diarthrosis in the human body. The first type of joint, hinge joint, is the simplest kind of joint present in the human body. If I have to give you an example of how the hinge joint works, is similar to how a door works. The same way a door is only capable of opening or closing, similarly a hinge joint is only capable of flexing and extending. That's the only 2 movements that it offers, flexion and extension. The ideal example of a hinge joint is, let's take the example of the elbow. Spread your arm in the front, either one of your arms, it doesn't matter how you're keeping your hand, just focus on the elbow right now. The only movement that the elbows offer is flexion and extension. You can do it in any form, flexion, extension. That's the only possibility that the elbows are capable of doing. That's all that you need to understand about the hinge joint. Let's move on to the pivot joint. Now, many of you must be having this question in your mind. If the elbow is only capable of flexing and extending, how is it capable of rotating the forearm as well? That's a valid question as well. This is why the elbow joint is not just having the hinge joint in the body, it is also having the pivot joint in the human body. Now, the pivot joint is, how the name suggests itself, is all about rotating on one single axis. The forearm is made up of 2 bones, the radius bone and the ulnar bone. From the elbow to the wrist, there are 2 bones present in the forearm, the radius and the ulnar. The longer bone, the radius bone, is the bone which is capable of rotating on an axis like a pivot. Every time you feel that the pronation and supination is happening in the forearm is only because of the moving radius bone in the body. The ulnar bone is completely fixed. It does not offer any movement at all. I want you to spread your arm in front of you, and I want you to hold your bicep when you're doing it. For people questioning that the rotation of the elbow happens from the shoulder, it is a complete misconception. Hold your bicep with the other hand, spread your arm, and while you're doing it, perform the movement of pronation and supination, and observe if the movement is happening from the shoulder joint at all. Once again, with the same arm, spread your arm, hold the forearm with the other hand, and then perform the movement of pronation and supination. Here, if you hold the forearm, you will be able to observe that the pivot joint is very much active and possible because of the radius bone. It's present in the elbow. That means that the elbow is not just having the hinge joint, it is also having the pivot joint in the form of the radius bone in the forearm. The third type of joint that we are going to discuss here is the saddle joint. Now, the saddle joint is a very interesting joint, and it's only present in one location in the human body. The saddle, as the name suggests, is all about 2 bones meeting each other, which are kind of made for each other. It's made up of 2 bones which are having, one bone is having a concave end and the other bone is having a convex end. Now, when this convex and concave ends meet together, they completely fit each other as if it's a 3D yang structure in the human body. If I have to show you an example right now, then just try to spread your one hand like this and the other hand in a similar manner and stick it between each other. Observe how the space between the ring finger and the middle finger fits perfectly with the other, not allowing any scope for movement in either direction, but like this and like this. In case of the saddle joint, this is only and only present in the hand thumb, not even in the foot, only in the thumb of the hand. This saddle joint is capable of flexing, extending, adduction, abduction, and rotation. Because of the structure of these two different bones coming together, it does not offer any rotation but circumduction. Please do not get confused by rotation and circumduction. Rotation is rotation on one axis. Circumduction is a complete revolution, which is possible in case of the thumb, as you can see right here. The next joint that we're going to discuss is called the ball and socket joint. The ball and socket joint is considered as the champion of all joints. The ball and socket joint is the only joint which is capable of doing every movement possible by the human body. Call it extension, flexion, adduction, abduction, rotation, and circumduction. Every movement possible, the ball and socket joint is capable of doing it. The ball and socket joint, as the name suggests, is all about one bone having a ball-like structure on one end, fitting into the other socket, which encloses and encompasses this ball-like structure perfectly inside each other. A result of which is a very huge scope of movement and a lot of stability as compared to other joints. That is why it's called as the champion of all joints. There are only two locations inside the human body where the ball and socket joint is present. One is the shoulder and the other one is the hips. Now, what all differences could be there between the hip and the shoulder? Well, there is a very minute difference when it comes to the hip and the shoulder joint. In case of the hip joint, the socket end of the bone, which is there in the pelvic girdle, is bigger as compared to the shoulder joint. As a result of which, the hip joint compromises on certain movement, but it offers more stability. On the other hand, if we discuss the shoulder joint or the pectoral girdle, the socket joint of the ball and socket joint in case of the shoulder is comparatively smaller than a hip joint. As a result of which, the shoulder offers more movement but less stability. And that is why in the medical world, the dislocated shoulder is more common than a dislocated hip, of course. The ellipsoid joint. Now, the ellipsoid joint is quite similar to the ball and socket joint, wherein in case of the ball and socket joint, you're also able to completely rotate if you need to, a certain part of the human body. That potential is not present in case of the ellipsoid joint, just because the shape of the ball socket in case of the ellipsoid joint is not completely circular, it's rather oval in shape. As a result of which, this joint offers flexion, extension, circumduction, and abduction and adduction. The location of this joint is present in case of the wrist and the ankle of the human body. You can try and work on yourself and see if you're able to rotate your wrist bone or your ankle bone. Apart from that, it is capable of doing every movement that the ball and socket joint can do. Apart from rotation, every other movement is possible, and that is the difference between the ball and socket joint and the ellipsoid joint. The last joint present in the human body is called as the plane joint. Maybe not as interesting, maybe not as capable as many other joints present in the human body, but still it's present in the human body and it deserves the love anyway. The plane joint is nothing but two flattish surfaces sitting one on top of the other all together, all with the sole purpose of providing slight and partial movement in case of the part sitting in there. These two flattish surfaces are capable of rotating as well as gliding in either direction to form the movement as it is. The only location for the gliding joint or the plane joint is, in case of the human body, is present in case of the carpals of the hand or the tarsals of the ankle. These small bones in the wrist and the ankle, they slide against each other to provide us the movement that we need from the hand and from the ankle. That's all that you need to know about the different synovial joints present in the human body. I hope you found this informative. I hope you enjoyed this session. Until next time, I'll see you again. Thank you and namaste.